Ooh, hot dog. My AI companion is trying to pop in there. I don't even know. I've never even used that Zoom AI companion, but
Mm, I have not
speaking of
either.
AI,
Boy, I used the heck out of Chat GPT. Let me tell you, Tom.
me too. Me too. Let's get into that. That's our episode today.
All right.
AI.
Good. How you
So,
doing, Tom? Happy, happy, joy, joy.
I hope you had a great July 4th.
It was nice. I stayed home. I worked a little bit late. The fireworks started. The dogs were a little on edge, so I opened up the couch. I had one dog on my lap. I had one dog between my legs, and we put a movie on real loud and snored through
Yeah.
the whole thing. So it was
Yeah.
wonderful.
That's one of the best things.
Mhm.
I know Kara had worked this weekend, so I was off, and it was it was a day, Saturday and Sunday, both days. I had some things to do, but I got most of the objectives completed, and I had time to just like relax and kick back with one
Nice.
dog in between my legs and the other laying right next to me. And
Mhm.
we just watched mindless stuff. We watched this show. It was like a series about these river otters in Singapore, and they're like in different clans. It's like,
Wow.
the Mudpaw clan and the Bay City clan and stuff. It was really cool. And those little guys are cutest damn things you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Chomping on fish and stuff. Oh man.
Right. I
But the
know some.
drama that they got into was just wild. And I don't know how much is like, our human condition putting on to animals what
Right.
they're thinking and feeling and experiencing, like, and of course they not over, but they dramatize it for, television and whatnot.
Mhm.
It was neat
That's
watching that.
cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Not helpful, not career oriented, like I guess a little bit of learning involved, but like it was just a mindless kind of thing. And I enjoy stuff like that where you
Mhm.
could just be in the moment, just watch something like River Otters in Singapore.
Mhm. There's a station called Oceans, and it just has documentaries about, you know, crustaceans and then squid and whatever. And I just put that in the background a lot.
Yeah.
Just soothing.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I got a new laptop, got a great deal on one, and my old one is still working, but it's
Yeah.
8, 9 years old, so it's starting
Yeah.
to fail.
That
But
really
it's
is
still
old because
working.
usually they're old after 3 months, right?
Yeah, okay. So I am gonna set this up. I love like aquariums and fish and all that.
Hmm.
It's soothing, but I
Yeah.
hate cleaning it. I just hate all the work that's involved with it. I've done this before. I set up a laptop in a strategic area and I just play the YouTube aquarium in a
Nice.
nonstop loop. So I have an
Yeah.
aquarium, but I don't have to clean it. Well, I do
Yeah.
have to wipe the screen down, once a week and dust off it.
Okay, that's doable. Easy enough.
Yeah. So I have a new aquarium, Tom.
Uh-huh. Well, when you do have an aquarium, I've never had one, but um, somebody in my office has an aquarium in her office, and she's got to clean it out and put fresh water in it and change things out, and the plants, and then the food, and she's got fish and shrimp and whatever, and you got to feed it different things, and so this is a segue into our episode today. What are you feeding? Not your fish, but what are you feeding yourself, but also what are you feeding the AI? Because I love using ChatGPT, and I know there's other ones, and I know people use a whole gamut of different things, and it's very, very helpful. I encourage clients to utilize it, especially for mental health stuff, especially when I'm not available or in between sessions, what have you. I think it's fantastic. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good. It's a lot of information that it spits out very, very rapidly, very quickly. And you still have to kind of decipher what's good, what's applicable, what's not so good, you have to critically examine the information. But for the most part, it's really, really good. So I would encourage you to use it. However, okay, here's the caveat.
However, comma,
Yeah, we have to be really mindful of what we are feeding it, just like what we're feeding ourselves and what we're consuming ourselves. What are you feeding the AI? Because it's going to respond to that. You
Mhm.
can ask it to be more objective. You can ask it to give different perspectives, just like a therapist would. You could ask it to pull from different areas, whatever, depending on your prompts, but it's only going to respond to the things that you are feeding it. And you don't even realize that you are unconsciously or subconsciously suggesting things because you have a little bit of a bias. You wanted to spit out the answer that makes sense to you that you like the best. And instead of critically examine the information to its validity, you're examining what you want to hear and
Right.
only focusing on that.
Well, and people use ChatGPT for all kinds of things. I mean, everything that you can think of. But it's really designed to pull information from open source, meaning the entire internet, the world. And I just did, like I said, I got a new laptop, and I said, I gave it the prompt. I'm like, got a new laptop. Give me a step-by-step instruction of how to set it up. And I know how to set up a laptop. It's you follow the prompts. It's not hard. There were things in there that I didn't know. It's like, oh, go in here and delete this and this and this because it's just taking up RAM that you don't need. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when you do things like that, it's not a big deal. But then people start to slip into the personal kinds of things, looking for relationship advice, or people you actually use it to, like, I need to have this conversation with a friend, a boss, whoever. And I don't really know how to phrase it. Can you give me some sample wordings? And people start to do that, and it's really worked out. In
Mhm.
fact, I did that about a month ago, and I was is so impressed with some of the response I got.
Mhm.
But you have to be careful about what you're putting in there because it will store your information, and it
Yeah.
is creating a profile of you. So be careful.
Mhm.
Don't put in all your personal information.
Right. It's intuitive and adaptive, so it gets to know you. And like I had a guy who was doing the making himself with his dog, like different pictures, like it was him dressed as a pirate with the dog or whatever, whatever. And it was awesome. It came out so cool looking. But like even if he puts in a prompt like, make me look like something, it puts the dog in every time because that was
Mhm.
our even if he goes to a new chat, like
Mhm.
so there's some things that you probably don't want it to save or keep going, or maybe you have to be more descriptive with it. But to just be careful. This is not a warning, but maybe just to
Mhm.
err on the side of caution to be careful and be mindful of what you actually are feeding the AI, because that's all there. It's all stored. It's all part of it. So, and it's going to respond back to you in a colored fashion.
Mhm. And so let's talk about AI and mental health, right? So there are people that are using AI for different areas of mental health, right? It's good to, it's not a replacement for therapy. I do not recommend you use AI
Yeah.
as a therapist, but it can be an
Just
asset.
an adjunct to it.
Yeah. Because you can't talk to your therapist every day, you can use AI with, hey, AI, can you generate a gratitude prompt for me every day or something like that? I mean, you know what I mean? You can do things like that, but the broader picture of, they are developing AI as a supportive, even a semi-clinical tool. Like, they're going to do it. Can we replace therapists with AI? Of course. I mean, they're always trying to do it. Well, the attempts they've tried so far have not worked out so well in the
Yeah.
long run. And there was a case, and I don't remember the name of it. It's been a while since I read it, but they developed this specific AI program to work with people that were living with an eating disorder. And they were piloting this thing, and they really worked on it. And a lot of great clinicians working on it. And they were beta testing it. And the problem that they learned, and they had to abandon it and they had to shut it down like
Mm.
hard. But the problem that they had was they were using open source. So there's lots of different, but the two main types are open source and closed source. So your AI, like your chat GPT, is open source. So it's pulling information from the entire internet.
Everywhere.
And there's a lot of garbage out on the internet. So if you ask ChatGPT can't tell what's real, what's not, what's garbage,
Hmm.
it pulls from how it's designed. What are the more popular, what are people looking at, what is, etc.
Hmm.
So when you're looking for highly sensitive mental health stuff, you don't really want to open source. Now, you can say, you can prompt it, hey, using professional clinical journals, can you
Right.
tell me about blah, blah, blah? And it can certainly do that. So there are some companies that are now doing closed sourced, which means that they're creating the space in which AI can function, right? So they're
Oh,
creating a mini internet or a mini or a closed source where they can of information they can pull from, like professional journals or
yeah.
clinical research or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But
I-
all you wanted to know about AI, but we're afraid to
yeah. Uh-huh. So what's different between therapists versus using the AI? And I want to say also in addition to what you just talked about, if there is a chance that in the future AI becomes so robust, so intelligent, and clinically that it ceases the need to have human therapists, then that would be great. That would be fantastic. If that puts me out of a job and I get to do something else, you know what? And people are doing well and are mentally and emotionally happy and healthy, then that's great because there's a bittersweet component to the job that we perform. We're honored to be here to be helpful and to serve, but people are coming to us because they're not doing well for the most part. So, if that puts us out of a job and we get to go be massage therapists or fishermen or I don't anything else, but that would be great. I don't see that happening, but if that's the case, then we'll pivot and we'll go into something else. That's fine. If people are truly getting help from it, it's been my experience so far, even though it's just new, that people are not getting as much help as they would like from the AI, and they're still seeking that human interaction, that heart-to-heart connection. So, what are some of the differences you've seen in working with clients and working with the population people that's different? What can therapists provide that's not AI, or I don't know
Mhm.
how to say that, but.
So, and there's a budding group of clinicians, therapists in the world that are using AI to adjunct with their clients. So, they set up like daily screening tools, right? So let's do a depression scale every day. Let's do an anxiety scale. Let's,
Mhm.
how am I feeling today? Or, or I got really anxious, so let me log in what was happening right before I got anxious. So they're using AI as a tool, as a information collector and processor, but then they're spitting that out and feeding that to the clinician so that the clinician can use that information, in the treatment process. So it's the AI is not the therapist. The AI can be a clerical function, a reminder, a daily prompt, those kinds of things. But
Yeah.
if you get into the point where you're taking, significant clinical advice from AI, I'd be really careful with that.
Yeah. And as a therapist, we talk about holding the space for the person, and I still think it's hard for even chat bots and AI to be able to do that. I mean, they can definitely validate you and give you some different perspectives, even give you some different techniques, but we need human interaction. We need human touch, whether
Mhm.
even if that's a handshake or, some therapists offer hugs, if it's appropriate, that there's that human component because you're still a human and computers are not human beings and our minds are different. Our brains, they work so much differently than a computer does. And computers and machines they're limited in that regard.
And ironically, what is the one of the significant areas that we focus on with clients or people that we see, age 14 to 26? is their inability to connect with other human beings already,
Right.
which
Right.
is leading to mental health issues,
Hmm.
right? So we talk about this, the lost generation. These were the kids that were iPad kids that grew up on screens and their worlds got shut down. Their significant developmental progress was thwarted for COVID, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So COVID did a number on these kids. They were struggling to begin with, and then COVID um, gave them a 1-2 punch. And they continue, in the young adult world, struggling with. I talk with people every day that are like, I don't understand. I'm having a hard time at work because I can't. I'm having a hard time working at a team. I just don't understand these people. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, tell me about your history of working with people.
Right. Right.
Uh, well, on the video game, we talk on the video game.
Mm.
Interesting.
You take an infant and you make sure it has a safe place to sleep and has food and, shelter and all that. And you never pick it up and hold it. What
Hmm.
happens?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oftentimes, the baby does not thrive or survive.
Hmm.
It needs that human connection. And we as humans need to have that human connection. I can't see. I know that there will be a large part of the population that might um, become hermits and sequester themselves and just live in the AI world, and that'll be just fine. But I don't think that they're going to thrive ultimately because of that. We still need human day-to-day interaction. Doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be with a therapist, but a romantic partner, love and attention and appreciation and human touch. We still need those things. And AI is not going to be able to provide that, even with fancy, robots and whatnot. Like it's just not, it's not going to be the same.
We
And
saw
you
that
can,
movie. What was it? Ready Player One?
right? Yeah, and great, great books. There was Ready
Yeah,
Player Two. Have you read
yeah,
that?
that's right. Yeah,
Oh,
I talked with a young woman who is significantly distressed, um, and she was a 22, 23, 24, something like that, and significantly distressed because she was um, shunned by her online community. Whatever game she's playing, they form little tribes or whatever.
yeah,
Well, she did something or said something and she's been shunned. So it's like her whole world, her whole social support, social outlet came crashing down instantly.
right.
And so, well, where else are you getting support from? Friends, family? No.
No, because they've isolated themselves to that,
Yeah.
and that's what leads young kids to unalive themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's the phrase now, right?
All right. But what was the other? No, never mind. I'm not going to be insensitive. Yeah, it's Friday. I am. So it drives them to take a toaster bath.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gut-wrenching
Yeah.
that a young person with their lives ahead of them, and whether there's trauma that occurred, whether it's just stress or expectations from the world, society, from parents, school, what have you, to be so distraught over an online community or an online relationship that they take a toaster bath
But
on a
that
lot
that's
themselves.
their world, And I do apologize. I don't mean to be insensitive. Suicide is not a funny thing. I don't believe. I work with people every day that are struggling with depression and whatever, and I don't make jokes about it. But if we don't laugh about this, we just wouldn't survive,
Right.
you know.
Well, I mean,
So I'm not
you and
making jokes.
I in healthcare,
Yeah,
in mental
exactly.
healthcare, uh,
So
people who work in healthcare, people who work as first responder, fire, police, EMTs, and paramedics, people who were in the military. There's this gallows humor or dark humor that helps them cope. Not saying it's
mhm,
great. It's just part of that culture.
yeah.
Those cultures.
So if I offended anybody, I apologize. Was not my
But those of you who work in those areas that
So yeah. But yeah, so AI, be careful. Open source, closed source, where are you getting it from? Be careful what you're feeding it. It's going to spit out exactly what you want. And there's great ways to use it. So, speaking object or as objective or as a clinician or as a researcher, tell me about, you can put all those different prompts in and
Mhm.
take it with a grain of salt. It's like Google. Don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. So I still want you to have that human interaction, human touch, human heart-to-heart connection. And I
Mm,
want you to spend some time making sure that you're putting time and energy into having true human connections. Don't isolate yourself too much. The AI, be back to the infant in the crib, you wouldn't throw a phone in there and, just put a chat bot like the
right,
baby's not going to be able to use that. It's not going to comfort the baby, like it's not,
right,
that would be absurd, I think that
right.
that would be sufficient enough. Well, just talk to the chat bot, and no,
Hmm.
that might be helpful in your lives right now, but it's just a tool.
It's just a tool. And we talk about the magic of therapy, and some of that magic, those intangible things, is number one, people feel better just when they make an appointment because
Mhm.
they know that there's a relief valve in sight, right? I've
Yeah.
been holding all this crap in, and I know that there's an end date where I can start to release that. So people feel better just after making an appointment, number one.
Mhm.
And then number two, it's that human connection, right? A lot of times, Tom, you and I know, we just hold that space. We're not even, we say 10 words some hours,
Yeah.
right? But we're just there to hold the space, be safe, know that people know that they can say whatever they want. They're not going to be judged. They're not going to be
Right.
ridiculed. They're not going to be shunned. They get to say that we all have crazy thoughts in our head. We all do. If you just say you don't, you're lying. We all have these crazy thoughts, but they are not real until you say them out loud. Once they
Yeah.
pass your lips, they are part of the universe and they have to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with therapy. You don't want to tell some your friends and family some of those crazy thoughts that come out of your head because
Hmm.
they could judge you or look at you different or whatever.
It might be ammunition for a
Absolutely.
later date.
So that's what we do is hold that space. You can say anything you want. It will never leave the walls of that room unless at risk to harm yourself, somebody else, or abuse, neglect of a child.
Right. We want to make sure that you're safe and other people are safe too.
Excuse me. Well, let me see if I've offended pretty much every one of our listening audience today. Check,
People
check,
are
check.
still calling us. People are still coming in to see us. People are still reaching out to us, texting us. Um, that, and I don't know unless you're listening. You're probably not listening to this if AI has been all you need. But if you are, and AI has been perfect for you, and you don't need any human interaction in your life, and you are thriving, then reach out and tell us so. But I don't think that that's the case.
All right. Yeah, and it could serve a purpose for a while for certain things. I mean, certainly, here's a great thing. A young person graduated college, took their dream job across the country, moved into a town they didn't know anybody, and they were very lonely.
Yeah.
They were using Chat GPT, to fill that void in the meantime. Now, it's not a permanent solution we had talked about, but it was filling a void and filled some of the loneliness while they were establishing and meeting live people to talk with. So
Right.
it's a tool. Use it as a tool, and then put it
Yep.
away.
If you're having some stomach pains that don't go away, would you trust your chat GPT to diagnose what the problem is and then go in and have a robot operate on you? Maybe. I don't
Maybe
know.
it's funny because we've seen all these movies and read these books, right? Ready Player One, Companion. We just watched a couple weeks ago. That was
Yeah.
interesting. Um, yeah, some of these AI bots and stuff.
Right.
And
Terminator.
they always just didn't turn out the way that they thought it would.
No. All right.
No.
Yeah. I'll be back.
So, just real quick before we are over, it has been a long week. I have talked to a lot of people that are just up to their eyeballs and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Coming off of the 4th of July holiday, people are stressed to the max. And I get it. It's a stressful world right now. The news is not fun. There's nothing interesting or exciting coming out of the news. Um, but yeah, just take a breath. You know what? Take it one step at a time. Turn the news off. It's the same crap over and over and over again. So take a break from the news, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to follow every development of every story. So be present. Every day is a gift. Treat it as such. Worry about today. Um, just breathe, man. Find something to do every day that brings you joy.
I love that. Perfect. That's a great way to end it. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for listening, Tom. Thanks for holding the space for me while I had to get off the, had to unload, vent the 25 people that unloaded on me this week.
I'm glad that you made it through and that you were helpful. And then you
That's
guys, if you have some questions or comments about this episode or anything else that we've talked about or anything that you'd like us to talk about, please send in your questions and comments to questions@therapyonzip.com and we'll be there for you. We'll hold the space for you.
absolutely.
So
Tom,
that,
always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. And we'll see you guys next week.